Hello everyone. So today we are going to learn all about the mathematical expressions of an impulse turbine. So yesterday we have learned what the impulse turbine is. Okay, so I have said uh, what are the different parts of an impulse turbine. So from the figure you can see clearly. Okay, so this is the schematic diagram of an impulse turbine showing all the important parts or all the important moving parts as well as stationary parts. Okay. Now impulse turbine is having uh, moving blades, or you can say a moving bucket. Okay, if we are considering the Pelton wheel turbine, which is a very good impulse turbine. Okay, in our present market scenario. Okay, now in the Pelton wheel turbine, the buckets are moving when the high velocity jet leaving the nozzle and strike it. Okay, so obviously it is mounted on the wheel attached to the shaft. So yesterday uh, I have given some idea about the jet. So what the jet is? So a jet is nothing but the uh, velocity of uh, velocity of the superheated steam coming out from the nozzle. It is called as jet, flowing of jet. Okay, now the jet causes the wheel and the shaft to rotate, and thus useful work is made available at the shaft. Okay, now when we'll uh, we'll make coupling with the turbine shaft to the generator shaft. Okay, so we'll have the power, electricity. Okay, okay, now so this is the velocity diagram of a impulse turbine. Okay, so basically it will be more perfect if I say this is the velocity triangles for impulse turbine. Okay, so you need to know very much how the velocity triangles forms. Okay. Now, so this is what I have tried to make a three-dimensional figure of a single bucket, of a turbine wheel carrying a single bucket. Okay, this is almost a three-dimensional view. Okay, so this is the top view or topmost version of the bucket, and this is the front view. So at these portions the jet strikes. Okay, the jet strikes and made the wheel movable. Okay, so this view is this one, this shape is this one. Okay, this is the 2D view, this is the three-dimensional view. Okay. Now how so look, this is the types of nozzle. Okay, now this nozzle, so from this nozzle the steam is coming out and strike this bucket at this position, at the topmost positions. Okay, and it is strikes at an angle alpha, suppose at an angle alpha. Okay, so look, in this direction from which the jet strikes the bucket or the blade. Okay, in these directions the velocity of the jet is known as the absolute velocity. Okay, and obviously this bucket will tends to move in these directions, obviously in this direction, clockwise or may counterclockwise. This is obvious in the clockwise direction, that is these strikes from the left hand side portion. Okay, so bucket will move in this direction. Okay, now the tentative movable direction is this one. So in these directions the velocity of blade or bucket is expressed in these directions. Okay, and this is the absolute velocity of the jet. Okay. So with reference to this figure, okay, so let us assume the axis of the nozzle is inclined at an angle alpha, at an angle alpha, okay, to the negative direction, means opposite of the motion of the blade, to the negative direction of the motion of the blade. Okay, now the angle alpha is known as the nozzle angle. So right below it has written, okay, so you can see this one, alpha is called as the nozzle angle. Okay, so alpha is called as the nozzle angle. Okay, the steam issuing from the nozzle has an absolute velocity, means the velocity of the jet itself. Okay, whenever the velocity considered of any object with respect to the other object, that velocity will be known as the relative velocity. So later on I will tell you what is the relative velocity of the jet. Okay, now the blade is also moving with the VV, means velocity of the blade. Okay, so if the wheel on which the blades are mounted is rotating at suppose n revolutions per minute, so we can have the blade speed VB. So from this relation VV equals to omega into R, okay, equals to 2 pi n by 60 L, as we all knows, into R, where omega is the angular velocity of rotation and R is the blade radius. This is the mean blade radius. Mean means, so if this one is the central line of the shaft, means axis of the shaft, to the middle position of the bucket. So this is the middle position of the bucket. This much radius is known as the radius of the blade. Okay. Now as the blades are situated radially around the wheel, the linear velocity of outside edge will be greater than the inside edge. Okay. Now VB represents the speed at the mean height of the blade. Okay. Now the vectorial subtraction. So you can see, I think you all have a vast knowledge about the addition of the vector, subtraction of the vector. Okay, like that. Now the vectorial subtraction of the blade speed, okay, VB, from the absolute velocity VA1. So this is the absolute velocity. Okay, now the jet will have two absolute velocities, once when it is entering and once when it is leaving. Okay. Now the relative velocity is expressed in terms of VR1. Okay, so with which the steam from the stationary nozzle enters the moving blade. Okay, as it is shown in the figure. So here AB represents the blade speed. Okay, so both in direction and magnitude, and velocity VA1 represents the absolute velocity of steam. Okay, then the vector BC, this vector BC would give okay, this vector would give the velocity of steam relative to the blade. So this is the supporting velocity. Okay, now the relative velocity VR1 is inclined at an angle beta 1. So this angle is beta 1. Okay, to the plane of rotation. Okay, to the plane of rotation from the negative direction of the motion of the blade. Okay, now the beta 1, this much angle beta 1 is called the inlet angle to the moving blade. So this is the inlet angle of the moving blade. So for smooth flow without any shock or say a disturbance, okay, in the blade passages, that VR1, okay, this VR1 should be tangential, mind it, should be tangential to the blade profile at inlet to the blade. Okay, blade profile means to the inside portions. So suppose if this dotted line is the tangential portion, or a dotted line is the tangential to the inside portion of the blade. Okay, now this line has to be parallel to this one. Okay, so in this scenario we can be able to evaluate this angle. Okay, and to form this parallel line is very easy. Okay, taking any irrespective of data, any type of data. Okay, now the direction of the steam jet changes as it passes over the blade. Now the relative velocity at outlet, relative velocity at outlet will be inclined at an angle beta 2, okay, with the plane of rotation. Okay, now the angle beta 2 is known as the exit angle, like the inlet angle, similarly exit angle of the moving blade. Now if there is no friction, though as it is impossible in actual practice, if there is no friction in flow passages, the magnitude of the relative velocity leaving, that is VR2, is equal to the relative velocity entering, that is VR1, if there is no friction. If there is no friction occurs, then only we can say VR2 equals to VR1. Okay, so in actual practice the steam experiences friction, so while flowing across the blade passages. Okay, now this effect of friction is usually expressed by means of a ratio that is known as the blade factor, or you can say blade velocity coefficient. So in the below I have written already. Okay, this one. So this is expressed in terms of K. So this is known as the blade factor or blade velocity coefficient. Okay. Now, so again the vectorial subtraction of the blade speed. Now let's come to the figure where the steam leaves the vane. Now the vectorial subtraction means VV, VA2 and VR2, in between these three vectors, the vectorial subtraction of blade speed from the relative velocity VR2, okay, relative velocity VR2 gives the absolute velocity at exit. Okay, absolute velocity at exit, that is VA2, absolute velocity at exit point 2. Okay, with its direction alpha 2 with the plane of rotation. Okay, so thus in this figure the diagonal A dash D, this diagonal represents the absolute velocity. Okay, so this is the absolute velocity at exit from the moving blade. Now the triangle, so this triangle, so ABC, which represents the conditions when the steam enters the moving blade, so it is called as inlet velocity triangle. This triangle is called as, ABC triangle is called as inlet velocity triangle. Similarly, the triangle A dash B dash D, which represents the condition when the steam leaves the moving blade, is called the exit velocity triangle. Okay, so I hope there should not be any doubts. So now, okay, now since the inlet and outlet is assumed to take place at the same radius, the velocity triangles have a common base. So common base means we can say the length of AB vector and length of A dash B dash vector are similar. Okay, common base, and for convenience the velocity triangles are combined in one direction as shown in the below figure. Okay, so look, this is the combined velocity diagram, this figure. This is the combined velocity diagram where the red triangle, that is ABC, is the triangle of entering the steam. Okay, when the steam is entering to the blade, this triangle forms, and when it is leaving the blade, this blue color triangle is formed. Okay, now is it as similar as the previous figure? Simple figure. So this is nothing but the combined velocity diagram. Okay, now in this figure the inlet and outlet velocity triangles, okay, has two components. Here the inlet and outlet absolute velocity vectors has two components. Okay, so look, so component of VA1, so towards AF is VW1, and the component of this absolute velocity of leaving in this direction will be equals to VW2, or in another expression, so we can say, so look, this VW1 can be, so look, so if this one, say the perpendicular, this be the hypotenuse and this will be the base, so we can say AF equals to VW1. So this is so called as whirl velocity, WHIRL, whirl velocity or somebody is calling it as whirl velocity. So it is actually whirl velocity. Okay, so now AF is represents in terms of VA1 as VA1 cos alpha 1. So VW1 is VA1 cos alpha 1, and this VW2 equals to VA2 and cos alpha 2. Okay, and the summation of VW2 and VW1 is VW. Okay, now this is the component 1, the component of absolute velocity in the direction of the blade motion, called as whirl component, or you can say tangential component. Okay, and the component of absolute velocity in the direction of the direction at right angles to the direction of the blade motion is called the flow component, that is this one. This is the perpendicular direction to the velocity, or you can say the right angular direction to the velocity of blade. Okay, so this is VF1. So this velocity component is known as the flow component, or you can say the axial component. So this is the axial component of entering steam, and this is the axial component of the leaving steam. Okay, so I think this is very much clear to all of you. Okay, so now so everything is written for you. Okay, so now, so by the Newton's second law of motion, the force in the tangential direction is equal to the time rate of momentum in that direction. Okay, now force equals to rate of change of momentum. Okay, now, so rate of change of momentum is equals to, so mass of flow rate means mass per unit time into change of whirl velocity. Okay, now the change of velocity which produces force on the blade in the direction of the motion of blade is the change of the whirl velocity. So change of the whirl velocity can be represented as VW. Okay, now what is VW? So change of velocity means the final velocity minus initial velocity. Okay, now final velocity is VW2 and initial velocity is VW1, what velocity? Okay, now so we can write VW2 means final velocity minus initial velocity. So as the final velocity a velocity is takes place, or you can say the VW2 is negative over here. It is shown negative over here, as because it is measured in the direction opposite to that of the blade motion. So if the blade is moving clockwise, the direction of the VW2 is counterclockwise. Okay, and this is obviously positive as it is along the direction of the movement of the blade. Okay, so you can write minus m of VW1 plus VW2. Okay, where m is the mass of steam flowing through the blades kg per second. Okay, so there should not be any doubts. Okay, and now the reaction of this force provides the driving thrust on the wheel. So this is the cause for which the blade is bound to move. Okay, so the driving force on the wheel can be written as, look, these directions. So negative sign indicates, so this is the opposite directions to the movement of the blade, and this is the positive directions because of which the blade is moving. Okay, so this is the causing force, okay, because of which the blade is moving. Now the rate at which the work is done on the wheel is given by the product of driving force. Look, this one, the product of driving force and the blade velocity. So we know work done equals to force into distance moved, but it is rate of work done, as because so force is carrying m into v, m per second into v, okay, into distance. Okay, so don't try to misguide yourself. Okay, so this is Newton meter per second, means rate of work done is power. Okay, so or you can write watt, or else you can write this expressions divided by 1000 kilowatt. Okay, now a change in velocity of flow across the blades of an axial flow turbine gives an end thrust along the shaft. So because of which the blade is moving, end thrust is a force. Okay, so as it is along the axis, so it is called as axial thrust. So axial thrust is final flow velocity minus initial flow velocity. Okay, as both of these is directionally vertically downward, that's why no sign change. Okay, now if VF2 is less than VF1, so the end thrust is along the turbine shaft in the direction of the velocity of flow, and if it is opposite, means if VF2 is greater than VF1, the end thrust is in the opposite direction to the velocity of flow. Okay, and it is measured in Newton, that is in unit of force. Okay, now come to the very important point, that is we need to know how to evaluate the efficiency of impulse turbine blading. Okay, for that we need to find out the efficiency of the impulse turbine. Now it has been written already that the effectiveness of the conversion of steam energy into work is expressed in terms of the diagram efficiency or blading efficiency. Okay, so it has another name, it is also naming as the utilization factor. Okay, and it is expressed by, okay, this one. So it is defined as the ratio of work done to the energy supplied. So for an important note, I want to make you clear that this is work done per unit time. Means you can say this is the rate of work done, not only work done, rate of work done, and energy supplied also per unit second. Okay, energy supplied is also in per unit second. Okay, as so m is multiplied over here. So m is in mass per unit time, mass flow rate per unit time. So what amount of mass is flowing, okay, and striking the blade of an impulse turbine. Okay, so this is very easy. So we have evaluated already the expressions for the work done per second. Okay, so VW1 plus VW2 into VB and divided by energy supplied to the blades. So what type of energy is supplied to the blade? Is kinetic energy. So for an impulse wheel turbine, the energy supplied to the blade is the kinetic energy at the entrance. Okay, so this is on the assumption that the kinetic energy of steam leaving the blade is totally wasted. Okay, that's why only we have considered the kinetic energy at the entrance. Okay, my expression will be simplified like this. Okay, okay. So this is equation number 1. Okay, now the following transformations are carried out to determine the different parameters which affect the diagram efficiency of the steam turbine blading. Okay, now from the velocity vector diagram, if you see the velocity vector diagram, so we have already declared that VW1 equals to VA1 cos alpha 1. Okay, so this is VW1 equals to VA1 cos alpha 1. So component of VA1 along this direction. Okay, or you can say AB plus BF equals to VW1. So AB is VB and BF is the horizontal component of VR1 along this direction. So BF is VR1 cos beta 1. So we can say VW1 equals to VB plus VR1 cos beta 1. Okay, so look, VR1 cos beta 1 plus VB. Similar to this one, VW2 equals to this. Okay, so try to figure it out by yourself. Okay. Okay, now change in tangential component. So change in tangential component means summation of VW1 plus VW2. Okay, and this will be expressed in this way: VR1 cos beta 1, VR2 cos beta 2, similar to this one. Okay, taking VR1 cos beta 1 as common, this one expressions. Okay, and so so here VR2 by VR1, so we have declared already that this is the velocity, blade velocity coefficient, and it is expressed by K. Okay, and so let assume that the ratio of cos beta 2 by cos beta 1 as any constant C. Okay, now expressions will be this one. So VR1 cos beta 1 into 1 plus Kc. Okay, okay, now change in tangential component will be equals to, so if VR1 cos beta 1, VR1 cos beta 1, so this will be equals to what? Look, came over here. VR1 cos beta 1 equals to VA1 cos alpha 1 minus VB. Okay, same expressions. So mark this one as equation number 2. Okay, now this change in tangential component provides the driving thrust on the rotor, and the rate of work done on the rotor is given by the product of the driving thrust and the blade velocity. Means we can write rate of work equals to this one, this is force, so mass flow rate into velocity of blade. Okay. And similarly the diagram efficiency will be this. This is as similar as we have mentioned in the previous case. Okay. Now the ratio between the blade speed and the absolute steam velocity at inlet is called the blade speed ratio. This is very, very important factor, blade speed ratio. Okay, and it forms an important factor, okay, in the steam turbine blading. So by substituting this one, this is symbolized by rho. So rho equals to VB by VA1. So okay, so in the expressions for the diagram efficiency, so if we put this value in this equation, so we will have this one, modify equation number 4, just putting the value of VB by VA1. Okay, so we have just simplified the equation like this way. Okay, so there should not be doubts, or you don't have any doubts, I think, or don't have any problem to understand this one. Okay, so this will be simplified in this way. Okay, now apparently the value of diagram efficiency, this value of diagram efficiency depends upon normally 4 factors. So number 1, so nozzle angle, that is alpha 1. Number 2, the blade speed ratio, that is rho. Okay, so number 3 the blade angles, that is beta 1 and beta 2, that is C. So this is cos beta 2 by cos beta 1, C. Okay, and number 4, so blade velocity coefficient, that is K. Okay, so this diagram efficiency or blading efficiency depends upon the 4 factors. Okay, now it may be noted from equation 3 that for given set of conditions the work done increases with reduction in nozzle angle alpha 1. If you see the equation number 3, so if we reduce alpha 1, if we reduce the alpha 1, work done will be increases. Okay, increases, and it becomes maximum when the cos alpha 1 equals to 1. Means we can say whenever the alpha 1 will be equals to 0, the work done will be maximum. Now in actual practice alpha 1 cannot be kept 0. Okay, as the turbine wheel has many blades and each has to receive the steam in succession. Okay, now moreover a reduction in nozzle angle implies a reduced axial flow, or you can say flow velocity. That is, if you find from the diagram, Vf1 will be equals to Va1 cos alpha 1. Okay, so this is, look, so this is Vf1 will be equals to the, if Vf1 is the component of Va1. Okay, so the component of Va1 along the perpendicular direction will be equals to Va1 sin alpha 1, okay, or cos alpha 1, if you can say. Okay, now okay, now Vf1 will be represented as the VF1 is equal to, this is the vertical component of VA1. So VA1 sine alpha 1 will be VF1. Okay. Now lower flow velocity means larger annular area. Annular means inside area, annular area for the same mass flow of the steam. Okay. Now if the area is increased, friction losses in the blade passages becomes more. If we increase the area, friction will be more. As a base compromise, if we compromise with this one, the nozzle angle is normally kept. Normally, this is the imaginary value. Normally kept in between 14 to 25 degree. 14 degree or 15 degree to 25 degree. Okay. Now, assuming alpha 1, K and C to be constant. Mind it, alpha 1, K and C to be constant. The diagram efficiency depends on the value of blade speed ratio only, that is rho. Okay, now the optimum value of rho for maximum diagram efficiency can be worked out by the differentiating the expressions. The optimum value of rho for maximum diagram efficiency by the differentiating the expressions of equation number 1, okay, with respect to the rho. So like this way we can have the maximum value of diagram efficiency if we differentiate this equation with respect to rho. Okay, so D of efficiency of blading, okay, with respect to the D of rho will be equal to 0. So we can say the diagram efficiency will be maximum. Okay, so now if we differentiate these expressions with respect to rho, will be equals to expressions will be equals to this one. So this part 2 into 1 plus Kc, this is constant. Now so d of this one by d rho equals to only cos alpha 1, and d of rho square by d rho will be 2 into rho. Okay, this expression. So this one 2 times of 1 plus Kc is not equal to 0, obviously. So if it is not equal to 0, so we can say obviously this will be equal to 0. So both of these two cannot be equal to 0 at a time. Okay, so either this will be equal to 0 or this will be equal to 0. If we say this is equal to 0, so expression will be meaningless. So this is obviously not equal to 0. So we can say this one is equal to 0. So if this be 0, so rho equals to cos of alpha 1 by 2, and this is indicated by the expressions number or equation number 6. Okay, now from the analysis made above, the following observations can be made. So what are the following observations that we can be able to make? Okay, now we can be able to make that if we substitute the value of rho in equation number 5 in this equation, if we put the value of rho, so we'll have, look, this one, okay, just put in the place of rho, we did cos alpha 1 by 2 into cos alpha 1, okay, and this is cos square alpha by 4, okay, and this is obvious that the we have considered the blade is to be symmetrical ones. The blade is to be symmetrical ones. The meaning of a symmetrical one is, so beta 1 equals to beta 2, and the C means the ratio of cos beta 2 by cos beta 1 will be equals to 1. And obviously neglecting the friction in the blade passages means K has to be equals to 1. K has to be equals to 1. K is the ratio of two velocities, right? K is the ratio of two absolute okay, absolute velocities. Okay, now so look, we are putting the values of rho in this equation 5. So we'll have the maximum blading efficiency is this one. Obviously, after considering the blades is to be symmetrical. Now for case 2, so if we put the value of rho equals to cos alpha by 2, and in the previous page, so we have seen that rho is also equals to VB by VA1. VB by VA1. So from these expressions, so we will put the value of VA1 in equation number 3. Correct? So what the equation number 3 was? This one? Equation number 3. So we have to put the value of VA1. Okay. So look, so VA1 can be written as 2 into VB by cos alpha, like this. 2 into VB by cos alpha into VB. So we will have 2 into VB square. Again we are keeping K and C equals to 1. Means we have considered that blades is to be symmetrical one. Okay. So this is our case 2, and case 3, which I have not written. Okay. Now the identity of rho is equals to VB by VA1, means cos alpha 1 by 2. So it is clearly indicates that for a fixed value of nozzle angle, the blade speed be half of the absolute velocity of steam jet if the maximum work is to be produced. Now for any other value of blade speed, the absolute velocity at outlet from the blade will be increased, and consequently more energy will be carried away by exhaust steam and the efficiency will be decreased. Correct? And the optimum value of rho corresponds to the case when the outlet velocity is axial. Okay. Now this is all about the mathematical expressions of an impulse turbine. Okay. Thank you all.